So I'm just about to start the long trip back from Romania to the UK. The trip here was fairly easy. We didn't have any problems. Most of the chargers were fine. There was only one charger where it charged pretty slowly, but I just moved to a charger nearby and that worked fine. I've only used Tesla chargers. I haven't used any other chargers. I did try, but I didn't never had the right app. And it took quite a while to get the apps working. I'll probably do another video at some point talking about that. So we're just packing the car, getting ready for the long trip back to the UK. On the way here, I didn't get to film as much as I wanted, so we'll probably start with the return journey, and along the way, I'll tell you a bit about the journey from the UK to Romania. We're looking at around 2,200 kilometers or 1,400 miles. We will make two overnight stops in Germany, and that will bring us close to the border between Germany and Belgium, and then we'll have another long day going into the UK. So we're starting the first leg of the journey to the first charger, and it's a massive 406 kilometers, so we'll see if we need to make a detour and do a small charge in between. Here's a map of our first day journey. We started from Zalau in Romania. The plan was to stop in Budapest, but you'll find out later why that plan didn't work out. So we ended up stopping in Debrecen, then got onto the motorway and stopped again close to the border with Austria. That gave us enough charge to go through Austria, close to the border with Germany, and then all the way to our first stop. This first leg was close to 1,200 kilometers. I think it took us around 14 hours. I did take a nap somewhere in between, and luckily we had a charger at our accommodation, so I could charge there overnight, and it saved us a little. It saved us another stop on our second day. And the reason we chose to have such a long journey for the first day is because I could afford to drive through the night, because I had had a nap the day before driving, so I was well rested and I could afford to drive through the night. And it helps having this big long stint in the first day and then have two shorter days, so that we can actually reach a hotel and then enjoy the evening and then enjoy the following morning, and then day 2 and 3 would only be around 6-hour drives each day. We took a similar approach when we drove from the UK to Romania, but we encountered some problems at the border to get on the ferry. There were huge queues because the school holidays have just started, and we were at the border for I think about 5 hours before we got on a ferry. It wasn't the ferry that we had booked initially, because we lost that ferry due to the queues, and we were on a later ferry and we had to catch up a lot of time on our first day. So we've just made a slight change of route because it's giving us a slightly shorter distance to the first charger. It just means that we don't go on the motorway as long, so we have more B roads, so we're saving around 10-15 kilometers, and we are predicted to reach with about 15% of battery. So far we've done 114 kilometers and achieved 108 watt hours per kilometer, which is pretty good. We've just entered Hungary about 30 kilometers ago, and we've had to make a slight change of plans, because in Hungary you have to pay a road tax to go on the motorway, and I've paid the road tax for tomorrow's date. It only starts at 12 o'clock, and because Hungary is 1 hour behind Romania, I didn't take that into account. So in about 10-15 minutes we were supposed to get on the motorway, but I'm gonna stop in Debrecen to charge, just so I can use up some time, get my battery back to 90-100%, and then continue from there and hopefully get on the motorway after 12 o'clock so I don't get a ticket. And unfortunately, this doesn't give me the chance to test the full range of the car. I was really hoping to push beyond 400 kilometers, but at the moment, I don't really think I'll get the chance. And doing it in the night when it's chilly outside and I don't need the aircon and I can drive at a slow constant speed, that would have been perfect, but maybe next time. Now, this is the one thing I'm not a big fan of. It's 11:30 in the night. I'm in this dodgy supermarket car park. I am the only one parked here. There's a bunch of chargers. There's like 2 cars that I can see, but I can't really, if I need to get away, I can't do anything. I just need to wait for half an hour while it charges. And it charges pretty slowly because I'm at 70%. And I want to take it to about 90, 95 just so I can make it to the next stop and I can reach that next stop earlier in the morning, so I don't have to stop again in the midnight in like dodgy places like this one. So just finished the first charge of the trip and it was a slow charge because we were at 70% and it charged at around 50 kilowatts up until 90%, and then it charged at around 22 kilowatts after that. And that was fine for me because I can nearly get on the motorway soon. We've just stopped for toilets because where we had to charge, there weren't any toilets because the shopping mall was closed. So I guess that's one of the downsides. I could have just stopped at this petrol station, get fuel, and then be on my way. But that's how it works. And then my next stop, initially it said 375 kilometers, but now it's 345. And I think that's because it's routing me through the center of Budapest, because we're gonna get there at around 2 o'clock in the morning. I think now it's taking me through the center rather than the, what do you call it, like the ring road around Budapest. So that's cutting down quite a bit of the trip. It's around 30 kilometers ish. So yeah, we'll speak to you at the next stop. Not much to see in the night, but I do really enjoy the Tesla headlights and the adaptive high beam. You can really see it working. It sort of dims certain LEDs so that it doesn't blind the car in front of you. It works when cars are coming the other way as well, but on the motorway where you've got that partition between the lanes, it sometimes doesn't dim down the high beam, and some of the trucks have flashed me to warn me to turn off my high beams. But other than that, it's worked brilliantly. We've just reached our third and last charge for today, and this is a pretty nice new one. There's quite a lot of chargers from a bunch of different providers. I'm not quite sure which charger this is. I'm not sure if it's the 150 or the 250 kilowatts, but yeah, we've been on the road for about nearly 12 hours now, 11 hours. This is the third charge. I did stop to take a nap at some point and I didn't charge at that time. What I found is that the car charges a bit too quickly for my nap, so I have to find another resting spot where I don't charge. But so far so good. Another couple of hours and we'll reach our first destination in Germany, where we'll stay overnight. I didn't record our second stop of the day. This was in a petrol station. There was nothing really interesting to see there. The car charged pretty fast. I did manage to rest my eyes for a little bit, had a coffee, and then we were on the way again. I did drive pretty consistently. I didn't quite get to the speed limit. I think in some areas the speed limit was 130 kilometers an hour, and I kept it on cruise control at 120, and it also adjusts the speed based on the speed of the cars in front. I don't really use the autopilot, or at least on this trip I haven't used it at all. I have used it driving on my own in the UK, and I just don't trust it enough to use it when the whole family is in the car. I feel I'm more in control driving myself. 3 very annoying things I've discovered about the car while driving. The first one is that I sometimes hit my knee in the screen here. Now, usually when I just drive around town, it doesn't happen, but when I go on long journeys and I have to stretch a lot, I did bang it here about 5 times already. The other annoying thing is that with the air conditioning, I usually just leave it on auto. But for such a long journey, I do like to change it from time to time and not leave it on auto. And it's quite a pain having to adjust it. And then the third thing is the Tesla connectivity. So I like to use Spotify, and I do have connection now while I'm parked, but when I drive, I would say for 50% of the journey, I do not have Spotify, and it's really frustrating because you pay this money thinking you're going to be connected and you're not. My phone has Spotify and it's got good internet connection, but the car does not. We're very close to our first stop overnight, and we've come off the motorway, and this part of Germany is just lovely. The roads are nice and twisty, they are really smooth. You can feel the car's weight in the bends, but the pickup after each bend is quite impressive. I really enjoyed driving around this part of Germany. We'll be shortly leaving our accommodation here in Germany. Luckily we had a charger here and we managed to get a bit of charge overnight. Just reached another charging stop, and it's a very wonderful place here. We're somewhere in a hilly, mountainy area of Germany. We have stopped here to charge. It's probably gonna take about 40 minutes to get a full charge. We're down at 10% and I'm looking to get close to 100%. We are at a hotel that has a restaurant. It's got a massive garden, and there's also a playground for the kids. So we're probably gonna be here for about an hour or two, just enjoying a bit of the weather, and then we'll be back on our way. I've somehow lost all the footage for the second day, but you can see the stop we've just been at. That's somewhere in between Nuremberg and Frankfurt. And from there we went straight to Hessel in Belgium, We only charged right before reaching the hotel because the hotel didn't have any charging available, or at least it had charging, but I couldn't seem to connect to it because it needed some kind of card, which I didn't have. We are rejoining the action on our third day of the trip. This is the last day. We're now at a charger in Dunkirk. This is right before boarding the ferry. We stopped to get a full charge, which will hopefully get us all the way home in Rugby near Coventry. And we're gonna stop, get some supplies from a shop here, and then we'll be off to the ferry. So we've just reached our final destination in France before we get on a ferry onto the UK. We've got about 20% battery now. We're just gonna do a charge up to 90%, and then hopefully that will get us all the way back into the Midlands. I'm just doing the final charge to try and make it home near Coventry. It's saying I'll reach with 8%. I am now at 94%. I think because this is trying to take me through the Channel Tunnel, which I'm not gonna take. I am going from Dunkirk, so that saves me, I don't know, 30 kilometers or so. And so hopefully that will be enough. And then once I'm on the ferry, I need to switch from kilometers back to miles. A bit more comfortable with miles. I've been a bit confused with referring to kilometers all the way. The Tesla doesn't have the option to show both kilometers and miles as you would have on kind of a normal dial. So next it's gonna be the ferry, and then it's probably gonna be dark by the time I'm in the UK, and then it's gonna be about a 3-hour journey all the way up to near Coventry. And once again, we were just out doing some shopping and trying to eat, and I've had to run to the car to unplug it because it's nearly fully charged and we won't be out for at least another half an hour. So the charge has constantly been quicker than our ability to get back to the car. One issue we've had straight after getting off the ferry was the GPS just wouldn't find the location. I just caught the last few seconds of our confusion with the GPS. We had to resort to using the phone because the car's GPS just was always putting us somewhere in the middle of nowhere. It was still in the UK, but just not on the correct roads that we were on. And that went on for about 10 minutes, and we had really no idea where we were and where we have to go. So the phone came in handy. So always have a backup, I would say. And this concludes our trip. We're on the last leg of the journey. We are gonna take about 3 hours to get home. It's getting pretty dark. We're gonna be home at around 1 o'clock in the morning. The car was brilliant throughout. We've never really had any issues. We've had one slow charger somewhere in Hungary, but as soon as we moved to the charger next to it, we had no issues. And the car, I think, charged pretty quickly all the time. We've never really stood around charging and waiting for the car to be charged, apart from the one time when we were lucky that we had to stop to charge because I messed up the travel times and the road tax that we had to pay in Hungary. And so I'm pretty pleased with it. I think if money was not an issue, I would probably switch my second car from a diesel to another electric car. But for now, I think I'll stick to a diesel and an electric car, and that will do my family just right. If you like this type of content, I'd be more than happy to do more. I quite enjoyed this trip with the family and looking forward to many more in the future.